So welcome everyone. My name is Luis Joel Rendon. I work for the Reno School District, and today you are in the DevOps overview. It's not just for developers. So as we go and start this morning, just by the show of hands, how good of a internet connection do you have right now on your devices?
Very good.
No, it's a choice.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, then we're just so we're gonna skip this part. I was hoping that we were gonna have a decent connection that had a little Kahoot to go through, have some questions, and try to understand who's in the audience and what are some things you know about DevOps. So,
What do you think for how good of a connection are you looking for? That's
well, it says
for a show of hands, but we're waiting for your. Kicker question.
Yeah, so if you have it, if you think you have enough connection, so let's go ahead and give it a shot then. I'm going to go ahead and start it and then see, and why do you change input? I don't know. Change there. So I'm gonna go with the hunch here, and that most of you are familiar with Kahoot and have used it. So if you go to Kahoot.com or do a search for it, you should be able to be prompted for the code. Just enter that code, and then you should be able to connect to it. I think it's set up to just randomly generate a username or So when we get about, I give it a couple more users, and again, as you go through this, the purpose is just to get an idea of what or who's in the audience and what you know about DevOps, and what's your understanding about what your perception of your organization is about in the environment of it. So,
Yeah.
so
You sure you don't need to kick it off? Because I'm just sitting in the screen since you're in.
yeah. So we're just waiting for it and just getting a number. So that's about good. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. All right, so it's only 10 questions. Just answer as best as you can, as the more sense it makes to you. Again, it's just random.
My network's slow.
Yeah, it looks like
We're all slow.
yeah, it looks like everyone is. So just answer to whatever you best fit your description. Your role in your department is that of a decision maker, influencer, supporter. Just do what I'm told. Yeah, it looks like that's all right. To me, DevOps is a tool, a gimmick, software development method, culture. Just what you understand of it. So just, there you go. Just let it finish, and then we'll move to the next one. My team is collaborative and supportive, not a real team. The Avengers, we fight for each other. Is struggling, needs help. Just 5 more seconds there. Yep, go. Good. Does your department reward professional development? And that can mean different things. What professional development means to you. So yes, no, kind of, I don't know. So what? All the answers. How long ago did you obtain a professional certification, license, or degree? Again, 6 months ago, 18 months ago, more than 2 years ago. I don't believe those are necessary.
Multiple choice.
My department encourages my professional development by giving me financial incentives, nothing really, maybe a pat on the back, more responsibilities, time to study during work hours. So how does your department encourage my... Yeah, you could pick, unfortunately, Codome. So, but yeah, just pick whatever is closest to what you feel. Not including ACPEnw, when was the last time you completed any kind of professional development? Again, this could be anything that you consider or can count as professional development in your role. Again, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, more than a year ago, work experience is all I need. Are you currently pursuing a degree, license, certification, or professional development? All of that. Yes, no. Thinking about it. What would I? In my organization, postmortems are a training opportunity, finger pointing session. What are postmortems? Unnecessary. And again, just whatever first thing that comes to mind about the answer. And my team or department encourages innovation by making it safe to make errors, sharing knowledge, allowing me to explore novel ideas. I'm not sure it does. So how does your department or your team encourages innovation? If I remember well, this was the last question, so thank you for doing that. So again, this is just for me, just gonna get an idea of who we have in the room, and go back here. All right, so DevOps is not just for developers. In the last few years, DevOps has kind of become a buzzword. You may talk to different people and they may tell you different things. And it's kind of now everyone wants to be parts of something ops. So you talk to the security team and they want to be, of course, ops, so you have SecOps. You want your network team and they want to be NetOps. HR, they want to be also part of the whole ops thing, and so they're people's ops. Even video games, and now you have Black Ops. So you have everyone somewhere wants to be DevOps. So it's kind of like depends who you talk to. It's a buzzword. You can go online and search on it, and you're gonna find different definitions. There's even blogs of people making fun of it. It's awesome. Donovan Brown, he's the last time I checked, and that was on Monday. He was still a Microsoft engineer, working and doing DevOps. And this is my one of the many quotes about DevOps that I enjoy. DevOps is the union of people, process, and products to enable continuous delivery of value for our end users. Now, K-12 organizations, the question is, what's the product? Who's our end users, and what value do we add? So, why DevOps? Again, you can have the conversation with different groups of people, and they may come up with different definitions and different reasons of why DevOps or why not, or why do it. If you've been following in the development of DevOps, there's some people that agree and I kind of do with them. DevOps is kind of like a offspring of ITIL or ITIL. Just ways to improve processes. DevOps is probably most of you know. It kind of was born out of the necessity of developer teams and operations. I think mostly operations being fed up with developers that just shipping code and saying it works on my computer. It's yours now to keep it running. So, but going back to that quote, it's the union of people, process, products to enable continuous delivery of value to our end users. So why DevOps is to increase value to customers, continuously deliver value to our end users. And the question for all of you, and you can answer, you can just think the answer in your head, but who's your customer? In your organization, as K-12 organizations, who is your customer? Who are our customers? So who are they?
Everyone.
Everyone.
Whoever pays for your stuff.
Yeah, it depends, right? We can argue that it depends on what your role is. It's your customer can vary. I'm going to make an argument here, and just food for thought, that our customer as K-12 organizations, and you can argue with me later, and you can disagree with me, whatever you want. I think this might be a topic for a different session, but I'm going to argue that our customers as K-12 organizations ultimately are the parents and taxpayers. So if DevOps is, the idea of DevOps is to provide value to our customers, I'm going to argue that our customers are ultimately our taxpayers and parents. So DevOps is, the purpose of DevOps, why DevOps is so we can provide value, increase value to our customers, and continuously deliver value to them. So who are your customers? I'm going to say it really depends, because as a IT specialist, IT technicians, your immediate customers can be the staff, teachers, and if you're a manager, it could be directly the people that you direct. It depends, really. But ultimately, I'm going to argue that our customers are our taxpayers and the parents. So, what's your product? Again, I guess it depends, right? I know that some school districts do have development teams, and so the product may be whatever software they're developing. If you're providing, if you're a help desk person in your product, essentially it's the customer service that you provide. So that's your product. So it really depends on what your role is and what you do. And again, I'm going to make a case here in an argument that in K-12 organizations, our product are our students. If our customers are the parents and taxpayers, our product as K-12 organizations are our students. What kind of product are we delivering? If we're all working in software development companies or whatever, Netflix, they have a product to provide. I mean, if your network connection, and if you're watching a movie in Netflix and you have to wait for it to buffer, you kind of get annoyed. Now, as a customer, as a taxpayer and a parent, and the product is my students, and they're not good. I mean, if they're not graduating, if they're not getting the technology and the services they need, how good of a product are we providing? So I'm going to make that argument in the case that in K-12 organizations, our product is our students. So we do a lot of work so they can receive the services, and ultimately they can be of value to the customer, in their communities and in the workforce. So that's our product. DevOps, again, came out of the necessity of trying to solve silos. Most of you might have worked and may be working in an environment where just this happens, where everyone happens to do their job and they do it very well, but no one else knows what they're doing. About 5 years ago, I gave an Ignite talk at DevOps Days in Vancouver, which when I applied for it, I thought it was Washington. It happened to be in British Columbia, so I had to figure out how to get there. So I was new in Oregon, so the closest I knew Oregon and Vancouver I thought it was. But anyways, and I started talking about it, why K-12 organizations need the DevOps culture. When I started working at Reynolds, what I was told, I started working in that summer, they just delivered about 6,000 iPads. And the way that was explained to me was the curriculum thought it was a great idea to have iPads for elementary kids. So they got the money, bought the iPads, and said to IT, look, we got him. And the IT department didn't know how to manage them, didn't know if they had enough bandwidth to support the deployment. So it was great. I mean, ultimately the team deployed that summer. I started the fall that year. But the way that it was explained to me is like curriculum, they just basically gave us all these boxes, delivered all these boxes and said, make sure that they get to all the schools. And by the way, we need all these apps and all that. So it was rough. So the idea of DevOps is to dissolve in a way, and not so much to dissolve, let me back that up, but rather work together. Work together between the departments. And even between the departments, I've seen a lot of, even in the school, sometimes school departments, teachers. And if there are any teachers, I don't want to pick on you, but sometimes you have, your science, your math, your language arts, and all are doing great things. But they're not talking to each other and how they provide that help to the students. So one may decide that they want to do something and then it conflicts with the way that they are doing. So the idea of this is just to work together, right? So it's to solve those silos. So what do? We stay calm. I wish I could claim that as an acronym that I came up with, but it's not. People that have been doing DevOps for a while came up with it, and I liked it, and so I'm using it. So COMS, what does COMS stands for? So culture, automation, lean, measurement, and sharing. So culture. DevOps, I'm going to argue again that that's the main thing about DevOps. It's the culture. So own the change to drive collaboration and communication. So as organizations, as team players, it's our job to own the change, to make sure that things are happening, that we're collaborating and communicating with each other. So again, here are some quotes about DevOps. DevOps teams apply a growth mindset. They make belief, explicit, hypothesize, impact, create better results, and implement hypotheses and experiments. DevOps culture stresses small, multidisciplinary teams who work autonomously and take collective accountability. DevOps teams think in terms of competencies and not roles. So we work together. That's the culture. We look at things that are failing. We look at things that are not working right. They're not being efficient. And we make it better. We start And we start with ourselves. We start looking at those things. How do we make this? So that's part of the culture. We make things work. So this is from a book, and I got. So what are some of the things said? And I'm just going to focus on this, the performance-oriented one, and we're going to skip all this that we don't want to be there. We want to be over here, right? We have our team should be there should be high cooperation. Messengers are trained. A lot of times I've seen where someone reports something, and because you find the bug, the issue, whatever, you're either stuck with it, trying to figure out someone else's issue, and you sometimes blame for even reporting the issue. So messengers are trained, researchers. So a lot of times we make changes, and we do changes because we hope to make something better. Sometimes that doesn't happen. But if we all as a team share the risk of those changes and make sure that, I know that what you're trying to do was to improve X, Y, and Z. You know what? It's not your fault. Well, it is your fault, but I'm going to help you out, figure out the solution, and we're going to work together. Bridging and scoring failure listing query. Why did this fail? What was the cost of this? We need to improve our processes. What happened? And novelty is implemented. This last one. There are so many new things going on in technology. There's so many things. And a lot of them are just really cool little things that may not bring value to what we do. But a lot of times it does. And it can help us and those we serve. So that's part of our DevOps culture. Automation. This is one of my favorite parts of DevOps. I was going to have a little meme about, you've probably seen automate all things meme. But in a way, I'm kind of this is going to sound really bad, but I'm kind of a lazy person. I mean, if there's something that I find myself doing constantly, I'm going to figure out and spend the time to automate it. So automation, we take manual things and add it to a value chain. So is there a task you're constantly doing? Is it a task you're constantly repeating? What is it? Is there a way that you can automate that process? Think of a way. And this is part of automation. Again, in automation, you can almost automate anything, and sometimes they're unnecessarily things. But infrastructure as a code, you can have a X number of lines of code, and you can bring up and have your automation, your infrastructure set up and ready to go. Do you need to configure switches? Anything can be configured with just code nowadays. So, are there ways that you can automate that? What happens if your whole infrastructure fails? End of the world situation. How do you bring that up? You have your backups and stuff, but are you going to be running those things manually? If you can automate those things and have a script ready to go, it can be a matter of minutes that you have your whole infrastructure up and running. So look at ways that you can automate things. Where can you improve? Where can you get things running and efficiently running? One of the nice things in the code here is that an infrastructure as a code model generates the same environment every time it's applied. If you're familiar with Google Console Admin and Office 365, group policies, SCM, there's how many clicks and checkboxes you have to go through and be able to generate a setting. Now, infrastructure as a code, there are ways that you can automate, and you can read the code, know what it does, and then apply it, and it'll always be that way. So look for ways that you can automate your tasks. Lean. Use lean principles to enable higher cycle frequency. Again, this is more, if you want to think of software development, there are some lean principles that can be applied to what we do in K-12 organizations. So optimize the whole. So look at the ways how your processes or what you're doing in your respective domains. How can you optimize the whole thing? Look at the big picture. Eliminate waste. Again, if we want to think about adding value to our customers, how do we eliminate waste? How do we know that what we're doing is not just being wasteful? Build quality in. I know sometimes I'm guilty of just getting things up and running, and then I worry about later how to fix things. So build quality in. Deliver fast. Sometimes, and then again, deliver fast. Speaking from working as a IT specialist and providing support to teachers, sometimes they want something quick, and they just need it to work. And a lot of times what happens is like, make sure there's a ticket. Once has been a couple hours, then I go to, and then by the time they get the service, it's like, well, I don't need it anymore. I needed yesterday when my classroom was falling apart. So deliver fast. Create knowledge. We all come up with solutions once in a while of different things that no one has thought of or has experience on. Share that knowledge and create it. Share it with people. Defer commitment and respect people. Again, those last two. It goes back to some of the conversations that happened about customer service. Use those lean principles to provide that, because it's going to come back to you. So metrics. Measure everything and use data to refine cycles. One of the things that I like to do is I like to look at two things. What are the tasks that are coming across that people are requesting? What are some of the things people are requesting? I like to look at, we use SpiceWorks for our ticketing system. And I like to look at things, okay, what are some of the things that are people constantly asking for? What are those things that people just cannot keep wanting? One of the things, and an example that I use for this, when I started working for Reynolds, the way we deploy printers was we still have a list of network IPs, our printer and their IPs, and then we carry a USB with the USB for the drivers for the printers. Someone submitted a ticket and I need a printer. Go in, install the drivers, and install the printer. There was one time that there was a computer lab, about 35 computers, that they needed 3 printers installed on that. I got to the 5th computer, so that was 15 times installing the printer, and I said, screw this, I am tired of doing this. I spent the next 4 hours borrow someone's server that we were using for file sharing, install print server services, create a group policy, and it was done. From that day on, that's how I started deploying. So I started looking at things, okay, what are some of the things that people are asking? Is this something that can be automated? Going back to automation, deploy printers, group policy, done. So look for metrics. Look for things that can be improved. And again, depends on what your role is in the organization, your department. There are different things that you can look at and measure. So again, monitored, and that's part of the metrics. So you provide feedback from production, again, going to the service, software development. Monitoring delivers information performance and usage patterns. Again, what are our users requesting often? What is it that they want? How can we provide that? And one of the goals of monitoring is to achieve high availability by minimizing time to detect and time to mitigate. Again, we look at all these things, what's happening, and we kind of predict what our demands of things are going to happen. So it can help us with that. And lastly, our S on our columns, sharing experiences, successful or not. I'm sure that all of you have an experience, a story of that you fail terribly by applying the wrong command, checking the wrong box, or saying the wrong thing. Share those things. Talk to people. I know that I've done it, and I know I'm terrible sometimes at doing this. One of the things I've started doing is just keeping a wiki of my own to just write things down. Like, okay, I came across this issue. This is what I did. This is the solution, and then start documenting. And then I usually share with people. It's like in our team. It's like, hey, this is where you can find information about this. So share with others. That's one way we're gonna learn, and we can eliminate waste, because if you already dealt with this issue, it's very obvious. It's very likely that someone else will have the same issue. So you're eliminating waste on someone else's time trying to figure out the same answer you already found. And so this can be applied to your own teams. And I know that I heard a couple people that are going to start using GitLabs or GitHub, whatever they're called now, to share some of their knowledge with others. So share it. Share it with your team. Share it with other districts. Share it. There's a lot of things that can be said and shared. Real quick, I want to share this video back to the whole culture. And so just pay attention. There's a little information. So there's 3 professional soccer players, and they're all playing against kids. If you notice, the defense, once the offense passes the defense, they're done. Like, we have nothing else to do there. And so the midfielders here, they keep playing and keep attacking, and the defenders now are doing their thing. And the whole thing of sharing and creating value for your team, you can have all the people you want doing the work. And as you can see, the kids are trying to do their best. The best with what they know and what we have. So you have trained people. You have 3 doing the work of, I don't know how many, I think the video says about 100. 100 people doing the same thing. And they're doing their best. I'm sure they are. But that still does not take away the fact that there are others that are professional and they know what they're doing and they know how to do it. So sometimes, while numbers helps, it's not always the solution. You can have all the people you want and all you need, but trained people, having the right people in the right places can make the difference. Again, with collaboration, this still very. I like this one because sometimes we pick in technology. Sometimes we think we know what's best for our users, and this one is my favorite about that. You know, people are collaborating. Yes, I am. I don't think you know what collaboration means. I don't think you know what SharePoint is. So sometimes we know what's best without consulting and without talking, without collaborating. And that's why it's important. We need to know what our users, what the people we work really need. So we need to be in their position. We need to understand them. We need to collaborate. We need to learn from one another. So DevOps is not a product. If someone, I don't know if we have any vendors here, but if you have anyone trying to sell you DevOps, run away. It's not a product. You cannot buy DevOps and install it. And also, DevOps is not just automation or infrastructure as a code. It's not that. DevOps is people, following processes enabled by products to deliver value to our end users. So it's people that follow processes. Now, we need to make sure that those processes are effective. We need to make sure that those are in place, because then you can have the right people, trained people, following incorrect processes. And so make sure that those processes are in place so that the right products can deliver value to the end user. And here's a list. Well, there's the main players. And I'm not going to talk about any of this, but some of the things that, some of the products used in DevOps to provide automation and different functionalities for the people. One of my favorite products, going back to products to deliver value, it's PowerShell. And if you're using VMware, the PowerShell CLI, you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. If you're not familiar with it, either PowerShell, get familiar with it. There is a lot of powerful things you can do with it, with PowerShell. You can automate just about anything nowadays, and you can run it from anywhere. You can run it from Linux, you can run it from Mac, you can run it on the web browser. It's awesome. So what are some benefits of DevOps? Well, reduce deployment failures, rollbacks, and time to recover. Again, going back, if you have your whole infrastructure as a code, disaster recovery, it's, you know, they say that in a disaster recovery, it's the backups are usually the ones that are okay. It's the actual recovering side of things that usually fails. So if you have all set up in code or a way to automate things, that's going to be quick and easy because you know exactly what to run and what your settings were. Reduce cost and headcount. Short development cycles, faster innovation. Increase efficiencies, improve communication and collaboration. I put this in here because sometimes we get caught up with what we think our customers are using or requesting. And I love this one because this is the Linux support line. And if you're familiar with Linux and Windows, this tech person is just giving instructions to do stuff in Windows. So sometimes we just think that our users have no clue what they're asking. And if you call support of any company, sometimes it's frustrating when they're like, you're telling them exactly what the problem is and what the solution should be, and they just keep going through the script. So make sure that you listen. The following comes from this book called Accelerate, and the title is Building and Scaling High-Performance Technology Organizations, and these are some tips of how do we enable collaboration in our team. Build trust with your counterparts and other teams. Encourage practitioners to move between departments. I know that may not be possible, but you can still collaborate with other departments. Find out what they're doing, find out how they're doing it, and how you can provide help in accomplishing their tasks. Seek, encourage, and reward work that facilitates collaboration. So look for those things. Create a climate of learning. If possible, I know, create a budget and advocating for internally for training. Ensure that teams have resources to engage in formal training. Make it safe to fail. A lot of times we don't want to try new things because we're afraid that we're going to break something, and if we break it, we're going to get in trouble. And perhaps we will, but we need to make sure that it's okay to fail as long as you take accountability and responsibility to make sure that you fix the issue. Create opportunities and share information. This is a great environment and place. I know Some districts get together once a month, once every often to share things. Encourage sharing innovation by having days that you can share. This can be just simple as your meetings. I know we try to do that and share something that we learned that week or we came across on the internet. Make effective use of tools. This, a lot of times we think one tool is the fix for all our problems, when the reality, again, go back to it, it's the people. It doesn't matter what your tool, what the vendor promises you the tool can do, if the people is not on board for that, and if they don't know how to use it, don't want to use it, it doesn't matter how great the tool is. And again, monitoring and measuring. Look for things to improve. And what are some things that you can do? Here's a list of things that you can automate. Employee onboarding, offboarding process, account provisioning, password resets. You can configure automate devices, switches, wireless access points, data port, user devices. There's ways and tools to do that. And you have your Googles, your Microsoft, and that's where it's some of the things like your PowerShell and Chaff and Puppet can do to automate things. A word of warning and caution on automation. I know I'm guilty of this. Sometimes it's something I keep doing constantly. It may take me like 5 minutes, and then I just spend a whole lot of time trying to automate something and then if you go into code and application development, then you're going to spend a lot of time just fixing whatever it is. So sometimes it's okay just to do things manually, but just keep an eye. And then again, your team. Make sure that we collaborate, we work together, not just without our teams, but without our departments. Just because it's not your problem doesn't mean that you can't help and shouldn't help. So, and again, DevOps, it's about the culture. It's not a tool. And here's a list of some of the books that I've read that I recommend and get your better grasp of the subject. The Phoenix Project, awesome. I love it. Great story. It was easy to read. DevOps Handbook, again, has some information about what it does and how to do things to improve the team. Accelerate, this is where some of the quotes, if you're, again, the title, Building and Scaling High Performance Technology Organizations, it has, to me, this is the book that has all the answers on how to build high-performing teams. And it has, based on surveys done over the last 4 years about state of DevOps, Dr. Forscreen, great book. And again, the Manager's Path has some information about it. And this little here is technology changes constantly. We've heard some said that someone mentioned how Google admin every 20 minutes there's something new. This is, if we're learning, continuously learning, this is going to be us. Technology is going to get older and older and just going to go their way out. But what happens if we stop learning? We're just going to keep going back. So part of DevOps is that growth mindset. We need to keep learning, keep doing, keep looking for ways to provide value to our users, to our customers. So keep learning. It's about the expansion of the skill sets through learning and increasing knowledge. Life changes, and we need to be prepared for it. Again, this one is one of my favorite, XKDC. I hate when apps make arbitrary changes to their UI. Stuff I do all the time just got way harder for no reason. Have anyone experienced that with Google or Microsoft? And then, man, you're not gonna like getting old. So make sure you're learning. Make sure you're adaptable. And some of the resources that I've used for just looking different things, some of them are free, some are paid for.
What's kind of your favorite amongst that list there?
Well, it depends. Lynda.com if you're in Multnomah County, you can access it through the library for free. And it has different topics, different ranges. I like Pluralsight because it's a little more technical than Lynda in that aspect. And I like CVT because if you're looking for certifications, they also have practice tests. EDX and Coursera, Udacity, they're more of like college courses, and then so it has different projects. Pluralsight, again, has a lot of in-depth, a lot of programming, a lot of, you can go in. Cyber is kind of new, and so is IT Pro TV. So these are some of the tools that I use to just look for topics that I'm interested in and just go through and see what's new. And keep calm and carry on. You remember culture, automate, use lean principles, monitor and share your knowledge. So thank you.